I don't think anyone predicted Becky Lynch would be the fourth member of the Vision. Hello, everybody. My name is Sancho West, and welcome to Sancho West Wrestling. We talk about all things wrestling. If you love wrestling as much as I do, consider subscribing to the channel, and I'm trying to get to 100K subscribers, so I get my own face on my Wrestling is Cool podcast thumbnail. But this episode, we're going to talk about Becky Lynch joining Seth Rollins' Vision, and some things you may have missed from Clash from this big fallout that happened here. One of the first things that I noticed is that Seth Rollins had an interview right before his main event match that he basically said, I don't need anyone to win, that you must have forgot who I am. I am the revolutionary. I am Seth freaking Rollins, right? He dropped that banger of a line. If you really do think about it, there's already a little bit of a schism between, a little bit of friction between Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. Remember that moment where Seth Rollins was about to cut a promo and Braun Breaker took the mic away from him, and then all of a sudden Bronson Reed cut a promo? There's a lot of the Vision's issues that are kind of brewing up slowly, right? Braun Breaker took over, so to speak, when Seth Rollins was injured. Of course, we all found out the work, but there's like a little things like, when is Braun Breaker going to step away from the Vision with Paul Heyman? Because clear as day, Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker, they have a future together. But Seth Rollins, going back to Clash, says, hey, I don't need anybody to win. I don't need, basically in his sayings, I don't need Paul Heyman, I don't need Braun Breaker, and I don't need Bronson Reed, and he's always 2 steps ahead of everybody. Interesting thing when you look at the match itself, when things got a little bit heated, all of a sudden you have Seth Rollins going, Paul, where's Paul? So I love some of that things, and if you missed out, I made a review for about Clash that go in a little bit more detail about that. But let's talk about that moment. Becky Lynch comes out all dressed in that bloodline type of attire, and boom, hits the low blow on CM Punk, and seemingly so joining the Vision, becoming the newest member. I absolutely like it. I really do. And it's surprisingly so that sometimes logical things, a lot of people get that word boring or not a fun pick, so to speak, when you add the most logical thing. Of course, Becky Lynch would help her hot husband in securing the heavyweight title. One of the most interesting things about this thing during the match itself was Seth Rollins literally looking dead in CM Punk's eyes, saying, I hate your family. Now we get more kind of wrinkles into this whole thing that, does that mean AJ Lee's got to defend the family's honor alongside CM Punk? And that is going to be a big surprise as well, because it always feels like AJ Lee has been somebody that's been in the back of the WWE's minds. Everybody, when CM Punk rolls around, oh, there's AJ Lee. Or when CM Punk makes a reference to his wife in one of his promos, like, what, does that mean AJ Lee's coming back? It's seemingly that it feels like it has to happen because CM Punk now has to deal with Becky Lynch. If CM Punk wants to overcome the Vision, he could definitely, work against Braun Breaker. He could work against Bronson Reed. He could work against Seth Rollins. He could deal with Paul Heyman, but he cannot deal with Becky Lynch, and so he's going to have to call in backup. You don't want Nikki Bella helping this out. You need family, like Dom Toretto was said, to help you out, and that's going to be AJ Lee. And dare I say, a match between CM Punk and AJ Lee versus Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch at Wrestlepalooza would actually be one of those marquee matches that will definitely get everybody interested in a future one-on-one match between Seth Rollins and CM Punk. I really do feel that the WWE is kind of sitting on this nest egg of CM Punk versus Seth Rollins for a long time. It's something that it feels like this probably has the most realistic hate towards each other, considering that Seth Rollins has cut so many different promos and so many different interviews on podcasts that he legit hates CM Punk for him trying to destroy WWE while he went to AEW, him being a problem in the locker room, him kind of throwing more gasoline to the fire that CM Punk is an issue in the locker room, and all that. You just know that it's real. Now, granted, times have changed. Maybe they come to a little moment, sure, right? Things are all kumbaya in the background, the backstage moment, and they're all working us to build up this feud. But dude, it is working for me to see them go at it, and I've always been wanting this to happen, considering that a lot of the monkey wrench issues that got thrown into due to CM Punk's injuries, that we feel like we were gonna get CM Punk and Seth Rollins at the first WrestleMania that CM Punk had made his return after years and years away. But that didn't happen. But here we are. We have a great opportunity to at least give us a appetizer to it, to let maybe see CM Punk and AJ Lee stand tall over Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins, because we all know Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are going to be so annoying to deal with together. Their promos are going to be annoying. They're going to come out on Monday Night Raw, and they're going to celebrate together. You're going to have Becky Lynch in the most ridiculous outfit, and Seth Rollins going to be in the most ridiculous outfit as well, and you're just going to sit there and like, oh, I hate this couple. Because there's an interesting thing, man. The power couple of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, like I said, it's going to be great for the WWE to give us that heel heat. And it's going to be an easy setup as well for future things like WarGames. Can you imagine those WarGames that you have Seth Rollins running the men's side of things? You have Becky Lynch running the other side of things. I see some great things of basically the Vision versus the WWE. The issue with the Bloodlines WarGames that you couldn't go into the women's division. I do feel that most factions really benefit from having a different diversity thing. I mean, you could kind of think of the Death Riders, sure, right? But when you have something like a D-Generation X, when you had China being able to have those matches with the women's division, you have China being able to interfere in the men's matches. You look at even Judgment Day with Rhea Ripley, right? There's something to be said to have a representative in different divisions. You have Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed being able to go to tag team division. Maybe they get themselves some tag team gold. That'd be awesome. Now you have Becky Lynch, who is an intercontinental. Maybe she wants to go after the world title. That'd be sick to have 2 Becky belts back again, but this time as a heel. There's so many things that the Vision could do to get their fingers all over the WWE and run roughshod, and then have the WWE rise up against it. And why not have a CM Punk lead in the charge? But going back to my idea about Survivor Series and WarGames, think about it, man. You could get Bayley, who's dealing with the whole Ding Dong Karen alongside Hugger Bailey split personality. You could have then Nia Jax could be somebody, and then Becky Lynch and the Secret Harvest with Chelsea Green and Alba Fire and Piper. And then you could have versus Nikki Bella, maybe Brie Bella. I know. Charlotte Flair and Alexa and Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. They could round out that entire faction between WWE, and you have a banger WarGames, which would be a lot better than last year's WarGames, where it felt like they just threw together the baby faces and then threw together the heels, and then Nia Jax was out there as a champion and she was out first. It kind of made no sense. But now you can have this animosity of AJ Lee being on the other side, and you have Becky Lynch being on the side, AJ Lee being in the first Survivor Series WarGames. Like, now you're getting some good things happening from this new addition to the Vision. And on the men's side, of course, you could have Seth Rollins, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. You could have a little mixture of CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso if you want. I'm not as interested on that side of it. I'm more interested in what AJ Lee could bring to that. And like I mentioned on top of that, they're going to be a mad annoying couple, right? They're going to be all over each other. And that is just going to be disgusting to see, the hot husband all over with a hot wife and all those kinds of things. And it's going to be fun. And I feel like as something that the WWE did visit back in the Thunderdome days where they were faces, it's going to be fun to revisit this as heels, as Seth Rollins has now reached a new level with his new heel faction. Of course, Becky Lynch has uncovered what I like to call New Game Plus for her, and she's fun discovering new things with her heel. I've been enjoying heel Becky Lynch for so long, and I'm glad that Becky did not lose to Nikki Bella, but it didn't feel like they kind of settled the score. And of course, we got that nice hint of Bayley possibly joining in, like I mentioned, for the Survivor WarGames, because Bayley and the 4 Horsewomen could work together and maybe work with Charlotte. I mean, there's so many things that they can do, considering that Charlotte Flair is someone that they might pull as well. So, hey, this is a huge W. I know a lot of people wouldn't like an Austin Theory, but I don't think Austin Theory is at a place where he can join. A lot of people maybe want a Mello Hayes, a Trick Williams. Like you said, I made multiple videos on the multiple people that could join Rollins' faction, even the 4th time around, who could join it in. And at the time, I picked Randy Orton. All right, I picked Randy Orton because I'm hoping for that heel turn to come around so we could have Randy and Cody. That did not happen. They went with Becky Lynch, and I think it's a huge W at the end of the day. And I see so many things, as I mentioned in this video, tethering off of that. But I want to know what you think about Becky Lynch joining the fun, and I cannot wait to see what happens on Monday Night Raw when they join all together. I'm sure they're going to look great, all 4 of them together, and of course with Paul Heyman. And dude, Paul Heyman and Becky Lynch is a Heyman girl? Like, come on now, dude. Now we're getting something here that could create huge movement for the women's division. I'm so excited. But let me know what you think. Comment down below. And as always, if you made it this far in the video, why not sub? It's free. Thanks so much for watching. Peace.